order our short little meeting. Today is July the 31st. You are with the Leon County School Board at the Aquilina House Center. We're glad you're with us tonight. Pledge of Allegiance. Is this another? Oh, I see a student in the audience who might want to come give Pledge of Allegiance.
Hey, Maddie Gregory.
Maddie Gregory, can you do the pledge?
Woohoo!
Come on, Maddie. Maddie, I'll do it with you.
We all do it with you. It's a group effort.
We're gonna stand.
You got this.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Maddie.
I was going to ask her where she went to school, but she's gone.
She is at Bucklake.
The Bucklake?
What grade are we going into this year? Third grade.
Woo!
All right, home in the
Big-
Bobcats.
It's a big day. All right, changes and additions. Miss Lewis Butler.
Ma'am. The superintendent recommends approval of changes in addition to the July 31st, 2018 school board meeting agenda as presented. Number 1, item 3.01, proposed tentative budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019. Add documentation 2018 through 2019. Superintendent's proposed tentative budget. 2, add item 3.02, Elder Care Services, Inc., Foster Grandparent Program Memorandum of Agreement. This item was added late due to the necessary review and revisions of contract language.
Move approval?
Second. Moved by Wood, second by Rasmussen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, we have no consent agenda tonight, no other reports. So that brings us to 3.01 items for consideration. Proposed tentative budget for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2019. And I believe we are opening a public hearing on that prior to presentation or after presentation?
After.
After presentation. Presentation first. Hold public hearing.
Okay. If you would open your document to page II. Everything that is in bold there once we go through this document would be needs to be read into the minutes. The first thing that we will start with, as always, is the rollback rate, because that's required by the trim law. And I will just read this, which explains what we're talking about. The taxing authority is the School Board of Leon County, Florida, and the total millage rate to be levied of 6.343 mills is more than the rollback rate computed pursuant to Section 200.065 Florida statutes by 1.79%. So the rate we're levying on the taxpayer is higher than the rollback rate, so that requires a notice in the newspaper of a tax increase. Having said that, if you would look on page 6, this is what appeared in the newspaper. The initial proposed tax levy of 111.4 million. The actual levy was 111.1 million. This year's tax levy is 114.5 million, which is about 3.4 million more than the levy of last year. So you had to advertise a tax increase, even though you lowered your millage rate 2.230 mills from 6.573 to 6.343. It's important to note that this ad notes for the taxpayer that the required local effort, which they call the required portion, decreased by 0.13%. That is the levy set by the legislature. It decreased. The levy that we are doing, 0.748 mills and 1.5 mills, is the maximum you can levy. Since it was not lowered, then it resulted in about a 3.4 million increase in tax coming into the district. Now, that in itself isn't what caused taxes to increase, because overall taxes, the millage rate decreased 0.23 mils. The assessed property value went up 1.1 billion. It went up over 6%. So higher property value brought in more taxes overall. Most homeowners won't see an increase in their taxes because most homeowners have lived there. They have a homestead exemption. They come under
Save Our Homes.
Yes, Save Our Homes. So most people won't see a tax increase, but new homes, new residences, commercial property that's gone up in value, they will pay more taxes.
That's a good question. Sure. Meryl, I know the last couple of years, we did not get any increase in the appraised value. Is that right?
That's not true.
That's not true. Okay.
The property value has been going up now for probably about the past 5 years. It hit a low and then it started coming back up.
See.
Last year, actually, the property value finally reached the same level it was back in 2008 when property values started to plummet.
So this change this year is a result of 1 year's growth in the appraised values of home, or does it represent more than 1 year growth?
1 year.
Okay.
It's year to year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let me start at the beginning. We did the rollback rate. The page III is the resolution that you will be reading into the minutes over here, your approval of this resolution, which lays out all the tax that is being levied this year. The first, page 1, is a summary page for the entire budget. It's the proposed tentative budget compared to the unofficial final of last year. So very quickly, the general fund is $323.4 million. Special revenue, which includes food service and federal projects, is $51.9 million. Capital outlay is $105.8 million. Debt service is $54.7 million. We have a small trust and agency fund of $40,000. So the total budget is $535.8 million. It's a $3.8 million overall increase from the last fiscal year. The next page, property tax millage rates, it compares this year to last year. The first one is the required local effort that the legislature sets so that we can participate in getting the state dollars. It decreased 0.230 mils to 4.095. The other millages stayed the same. The total millage for operating purposes is 4.843. The total overall millage is 6.343. And at the bottom, you see tax roll data. $18.054 billion is the certified tax roll for this year. Last year, it was $16.953 billion. $1.1 billion increase. That's 6.5% increase in property value, or assessed taxable property value.
And is that for commercial and residential?
Yes, that includes both.
In just Leon County, correct?
Correct. Page 3 is the rollback rate. We just discussed that. Don't need to go over it again. The page 4, local tax dollars. The required local effort, we budgeted $70,975,000. Understanding this is at 96%. This required by that's required by law for us to. We take the 100% isn't what we budget. We budget 96%. The operating discretionary is $12.9 million, almost 13. The subtotal for the operating budget is almost $84 million. The capital outlay is almost $26 million, increase of $1.5 million. So the total the total millage levy is at $109.9 million, $2.7 million more than what we unofficially have from last year. Next page is just a legal advertising requirement that we have to follow. We just went over page 6, the notice of proposed tax increase. Page 7 is the capital outlay add, $25,998,000. We list the different projects it's supposed to be used for.
So capital outlay get two millions more for 2018, 2019.
Capital outlay got $1.5 million more from
Million and a half.
the LCIF fund. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
$1.5 million. Page 8 is the budget summary of all the funds. We went over the totals before. This is a further breakdown into the different functions, so it's more detailed. I won't bother to go through that whole thing.
This is
And-
also what was in the paper. the ad
That's
in the
true.
paper.
Yes.
Do we have to run that more than once? I saw it just the once that was in Sunday. And it was huge.
If it's run twice, it means we've made a major mistake. So
But it's available on our website, right?
it is on our website.
So the
yes.
public, it's not about wanting to not be
This document is on the website.
forthcoming
Oh,
with
okay,
the pub.
great.
Yes. So if any member of the public would like to see this detail, it's available on our website.
And if you want to take over from here.
I don't normally need a mic. I'm usually told to lower my voice, not. On page, the numbers that you see in this document are the exact same numbers you saw last week. We can't make a change to these from that date to this date. Now, the next time you see it, it will have changed some because we will have finished closing out the fiscal year. So just going over, for those that, it's going to be repetitious to you, but for those that didn't see it and all the people out there, our main source of revenue is our general fund, and that's what I'm going to cover.
What page are you on, Amy?
I'm sorry, page 9.
Okay.
And like you see up top, we got an increase of $3.6 million in our FEFP. And I think I need to explain a little something there because Meryl and I had to talk about this because he couldn't come up with the same numbers I was coming up with. In the prior year, we have McKay Scholarship dollars that are included in the dollars that we get at the beginning of the year. So they take those dollars away from us after the third FEFP calculation. So when it says we're getting 3.6 more, 2 million of that is tied to McKay scholarships that they took away from us. So it goes away out of our dollars, but it's in our beginning dollars. But we budget for it. It's not like we just magically, there's a line item in there, that 2.5 million we budget for McKay scholarships. And it comes in between the 2 and the 2.5 every year. It just depends on how many students are still participating in that program. It's a flow through basically. I just wanted to point that out because it kind of it almost overstates the increase there, but we budget it, so we're okay. The other areas, our taxes are going up a little bit, but as a total, if you go down to our fund balance, I think that's where you see the most significant increase or change. We don't have any really large increases in any type of revenue. Safe Schools is one, but we know that's in and we're spending it because we have to provide all the security at the school sites. But our fund balance over last year, we're ending up with, excuse me, about 9.7 million more from last year to this year at the ending of last year. And 7.5 of that was unrestricted. So what caused that, just a little bit of, for how we have such a nice fund balance, is we didn't touch our unrestricted fund balance that we had at the end of last year at all. So anytime we had to spend money, we had reserves for it or we reduced other areas. So a big chunk, when you don't spend your savings account, you still have that money sitting there and you add to it. So we added to that savings account with unspent dollars that weren't allocated this year. Okay. The next couple of pages just kind of go into where you go to page 14, and that's where we take, and that revenue that you see on that page, we allocate it out 100%. So this page 14 shows you exactly where every dollar that we have in our district or in the general fund is allocated. And behind each of this, our backup sheets, 15, 16, 17, are all backup sheets that actually break it down into the individual areas that we budget these funds. And then the pages before that kind of explain some of those project areas a little more in depth than just my names of the projects there. Page
Amy,
8.
quick question.
Uh-huh.
The budgeted amount from McKay, is that just sort of based on the enrollment from last year?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
an average.
Do we know, is it going up, going down?
It stays about the. It's been staying about the same.
Okay.
It just depends. I mean, one year it may go down 100,000. The next year it may go up 200,000. It just depends on the number of kids that finish
Right.
and then enter. And it depends on the weight factors also, and the BSA and all that. So we've been pretty lucky. It stays about $2 million for the past couple of years, but I always like to have a little extra just in case. Page 18 and 19 are just, 18 is just taking those numbers and breaking it down in even more in depth, like by function and by object. Same numbers, just presented differently. And page 19 is just taking our fund balance and just doing an analysis from one year to the next. Just a little more of what you saw on that revenue page.
Can I back up just a second?
Uh-huh.
On 18, the materials and supplies, so this would be the increase in superintendent and some of the classroom supplies, so parents don't have to purchase it. Is that
That is
where
included in
that
there.
would be found? So we went from 8.2 to 9.2.
Well, the first two columns are actual
That's
expenditures.
actual old. All right, so
Right.
9.2.
In
And
your
then
budget, it looks large,
it does look large.
but what you have to understand is there's only myself and one other staff member, so we don't budget to the final budget lines for the school sites or
Okay.
for the district sites. So the 510 object code is kind of where you put it, and then they allocate it out. So it makes it. That's why you start with 34 million and you end up only spending 9 million. Well, that got moved out all over the place. I mean, they moved it. There's other things that are in that 500 textbooks.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
so
all
you're
right.
talking about 4 million just for textbook
Okay.
in that allocation. So lots of things go into that 500 object.
Thank you.
The next few pages are the federal, the capital outlay, and debt service. We don't usually go into those, mainly because you have separate meetings, and those are gone over with you. The one page that Merrill had talked about that we do like to draw everybody's attention to is the cost to the homeowner on page 26.
So was
That's
there,
where you,
Go ahead.
that's where you'll see, based on the value of a home being $200,000 and it doesn't change, they would pay $40.25 less. Now, Merrill did more of a comparison. Even if it goes up 3%, you're still not going to pay. If your home was $200,000 and it went up by 3%, you would still not pay the same amount of taxes this year. It would be a little bit less.
that's great.
But if you have the Save Your Home, if you don't have Save Your Homes and you just bought it, you're gonna make up those differences that we're getting in the property taxes. The next couple of pages, 27 through, that y'all said you couldn't read.
Still can't read it.
I don't know why.
What's wrong with them?
Yeah, really. Through 29 are copies of the staffing plan, and I agree, it is a teeny tiny.
But you gave us this nice
But I
new
gave
copy.
you,
so
and
thank you.
anybody else that would want a bigger copy, we can provide that to them also. But that kind of gives you that a little bit bigger. So when you're not, can't
bit.
sleep at night and you want to fall asleep, just
With our magnifying
take
glass.
a glass of wine.
But that's
and
the way it
it'll
is on the
make perfect sense
website.
at that point in time.
On the website, it's a small, and on the website.
It is small, but it's hard to get all of that on without making.
So we have to request and come out to see you to get a bigger
You
copy.
come right, we'll magnify it for you.
Okay, that's
you
they need to know that. You can't see it on the website. Call.
They can call us and we will help them any way we can.
So
Thank you.
Naomi, Merrill, would one of you speak a little bit about the Save Your Homes bit? That came up twice. What is that about, please?
The law will not allow one of those homes to increase in taxable value more than 3%. And by my calculations, to just even break even, to pay the same amount you did last year, your home would have to increase 3.2%. So even if it goes up to its maximum, those folks aren't going to pay as much taxes as they did last year for school board purposes.
I think she was asking
Most
who
people
qualifies for Save Your Home. That's the
Yeah,
that's the $25,000 exemption.
Homestead exemption, and you
People
have
who
to live
have
there,
that.
All right,
I don't
so,
know, a year, 2 years, whatever. But most people fall in that category.
okay. So the Save Your Homes is the homestead exemption piece.
ma'am.
A few
Okay.
years ago, the legislature came up with this remedy to escalating. There were like senior citizens, for example, who were income limited, but their property taxes were going up and up and up and up, and they couldn't keep up with a limited fixed income. So the legislature said, once you have a homestead exemption, your property taxes can't go up more than 3% a year. And that was called the Save Our Homes initiative.
Okay, that was that initiative. All right, just wanted to make sure that we're on the same page there.
you.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have, unless y'all have any questions.
Well, I was just going to make a comment. Amy, I heard you say last week that you've never seen this good a fund balance. Is that right?
That's true.
In all your years here?
All my 28 and a half years, yeah.
And, I just want to give credit where credit's due to your staff and to the superintendent for, I'm bragging on you, Rocky.
For holding the line.
Hold on, let me pay attention. No, I'm kidding. I always pay attention.
No, just that, I think all of us are proud that you've helped hold the line, and we as a board have too, and have tried to cut wasteful spending wherever you could find it, and as a result, we have this big fund balance that you're able to distribute in good ways to schools, and if not, we would really just be struggling with that 47 cents extra we got, from the legislature for the schools. So this is making a huge difference this year. I don't think we can expect that every year, because once you've squeezed all the pennies out, that doesn't keep happening. But this is, going to help us this year a lot. So I just want to thank all of you for what you've done to make that happen.
Thank you for your kind words. And Naomi worked really hard on this document, and it was a labor of love, and I'm very proud of it. And we talked. And I went on last week. I'm not going to do it again, but we're doing some really, really good things for our classrooms, our students, and our employees. And I was not very optimistic when we started this process, but then as things progressed over the course of late spring and early summer, began to realize that we accomplished what we said, and was able to locate dollars and to cut budgets and find money for those projects. And whether it's back to increased school supplies and flex dollars, or increased money for the arts and athletics, or increased pay for our bus drivers and our non-instructional personnel. And then there is money in here, and I was talking to Miss McKinney-Williams about maybe a brief executive session to tell you the dollar amount that we've kind of identified as we start negotiations. I see Ms. McAllister with the Classroom Teachers Association. There are dollars earmarked in this budget for that as well, but I'd like to talk to you all privately about that in an executive session. But I'm proud of what we accomplished, but I would say I don't know how often this is going to happen, to make chicken salad out of chicken little. But this year we were able to do it. And
Great.
All right. Any other questions about the budget? Anything? I wanted to ask you guys about, was there new lines created for the safety and security, the mental wellness, or was that just sort of lumped into what was already there, or is there a new line item specifically we should be looking for?
Well, we added,
As far as the expense, I know in the revenue it was
right now, on the expenditure side, we put aside the monies for
right. Both
this
What page is
both
that
of
on?
them.
SR. It's on page.
So there's a
Discuss that on page 11.
11.
Page 11.
It's on page 16, yes, the school resource officer's contract.
And we set up a separate project for the elementary school for the deputies and all that we use there, so we can track those separately.
Yeah.
Right,
Because they're
so-
not part of the contract.
Elementary schools.
So on page 17,
On page 16, school resource officer's contract, and also on the same page, the elementary school safety officers of $1 million. School resource officers is $1.9 million.
And we also added the security monitors at the school sites. It's not an item here, it's in the staffing plan.
okay. And again, when you say security monitors, in fact, I had to call, I don't know, I talked to somebody about it. This was what we would refer to back in the old days, hall monitors.
Yes.
These are not TV cameras. These are people
Right,
in the
these are
hallways
people walking around.
that are there for both
Right.
disciplinary, whatever a teacher may need to help them get back to their instruction, whether it be safety, discipline, that's for all kinds of things,
Just
right?
to walk around the school
Perfect.
and see if there's somebody that they don't know that's on
Right.
It's better to have somebody like that because they know the kids.
Madam Chair, did I understand that we had 3 of these hall monitors assigned to each school?
High schools only.
Pardon me?
High schools got 3.
High school got 3.
Elementary and middle got 1.
Got 1, okay.
Could we summarize that either in the summary or the executive summary of the budget, or in the line item, highlighting it somehow so that the general public can readily see quickly exactly the whole picture of everything we've done,
For safety.
both with school safety but also with mental health. The presentation that Dr.
Right.
Cox made,
Right.
and all this. Some kind of a summary, maybe just on the front page, new this year.
Right.
Or something. That would be, I think, a comprehensive snapshot. That would be good. I think it's just, on the minds of everybody.
That's a good idea. I like that.
It's a big deal. It's a lot of new money and a lot of new resources, so.
It is.
A lot of new responses.
Yeah, so I'll get with Chris and we'll do that, Naomi. You've done enough. But
Yeah, 'cause I'm looking through, I can't even.
so I'll
find
get
it.
with I'll get
Where
with
is
Chris and we'll highlight. I had
that'd
it
be
like kind of like what we had last week with the highlights of the things that are included
Well,
or
maybe-
new in this budget.
Yeah, all your whole list. New this year. Boom.
Right.
Aren't you
Right.
doing a safety something tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am. So we have a press conference tomorrow to roll out our LCS Safe plan, which includes the security monitors, the contract with the sheriff's department, and our contract with the Integrity Group, and the city of Tallahassee, and all of those things, and the mental health piece. So yeah, it's all rolled in there together.
Tomorrow at 10:30?
I think it's 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock?
Yeah, do,
Here, right?
Here, yeah, it is 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock,
here.
right? 10 o'clock.
I think it's safety and security portable.
No, they
No.
changed it.
No?
It's going to be here.
Okay.
In the
Okay.
training room, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
also, as you roll out about safety, are you going to roll out about the mental councils?
Yes, ma'am. That'll be a part of what we discuss tomorrow. Dr. Cox, like he did with you all at the board retreat and also at the last school board meeting, talked to you about that $850,000 allocation. That's part of the entire program.
Will they have this job description of the mental councils? Is that ready now?
So what we basically did with some of that money, Ms. Lewis Butler, is expanded our partnership with Dis Village. If you remember, Dis Village for free have already provided mental health counselors in all of our middle and high schools, and now we've contracted with them to add 9 additional mental health counselors for our elementary schools. So, and those are their employees; they're not our employees. So, in case, heaven forbid, that money goes away, then the contract would end. But so they're their employees, and they have to meet the credentials for employment as set by the folks at Dis Village.
So, would you require a job description for who hired them? So this village would be hiring the mental council?
Yes, ma'am. Dis Village hires them; they're their employees, and then they contract them out to us. Just like when we contract with speech language folks, they hire them, and we contract out with is it Southeastern Therapy Group to do provide speech language services. It's the same with Dis Village.
It's like the SROs. in a
Yeah,
way.
just like, yeah, so the sheriff's department hires an SRO, and we contract with them to provide those services.
But how do we know the responsibility of the mental councils, though?
Those are set, and Dr. Cox can elaborate more on.
It's in the memorandum of understanding that the board approved as well,
Okay.
2 years ago, actually.
The job description of these.
Of the counselors, the mental health counselors that are in each of the schools, yes, ma'am. And we can pull that agreement and.
Please.
Right,
I get that, if I need to.
right. So we can have that tomorrow for you at the press conference.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, does that end the presentation? Yes. So do we need to open public hearing and then motion? So open public hearing, we have speakers, I believe.
Madam Chair, you have two speakers.
Sure.
First speaker, Randy Lundgren. You could please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Hello.
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 I'm Randy Lundgren. My address is 4585 Running Meadows Lane. I'm the Fine Arts Department head at Godby High School. Sorry, is that my fault? I'm here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, hold
sorry,
on.
sorry. Stop.
It's not wanting to cooperate.
It's not.
There you go.
Better. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No problem. So as I said, I'm the Fine Arts Department head and director of theater at Godby High School. And I'm here to talk about the Southern Shakespeare Company for a moment. Laura is here, and she'll be going into more of the nitty-gritty of how it benefits, but I wanted to talk personally about how it's benefited my students. For the past 4 years, Mr. Croton and Devon Glover, who is Sonnet Man, have come into my classroom, both my theater classroom and my English classroom, and done intensive workshops with my students. It's been eye-opening for my kids because you hear Shakespeare and it glosses over, and they hear these words and they're like, this is a different language. Well, no, it's not. It's English, but you can't access it like some people who've studied Shakespeare can. So bringing these two gentlemen in to talk with our students, it makes it readily available to them, relevant to them. Sonnet Man raps sonnets, and so they're very engaged when he comes in, and it brings to life the bard's 400-year-old words and makes it relevant for our students. They have also come into my classes and worked on character analysis for my actors, but also character analysis and understanding his words with my English students. And taking those sonnets and breaking them down for my students, I learned some tricks from them to use in my regular English class when we weren't studying Shakespeare, when we were just looking at poetry. The analysis of the language and the engagement with the students is so huge for these kids. Also, they chose they also did a sonnet writing workshop, and he chose 3 of my students to represent Godby, and they read their own personal sonnets that they wrote at TCC at their production of The Town Divided. And the kids that were chosen were kids that don't normally get up in front of people and read their poetry. They don't normally write poetry, but when Sonnet Man came in and made it live for them, they flew, and they were amazing. And these kids got up there, and they read their poems, and they were so proud of themselves, and I was proud of them too. So I guess that's really all I had to say, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you also for the increase in budget for the arts. It's tremendously important, especially to a school like Godby. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, second speaker, Laura Johnson. If you could please come, give us your name, address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
But first, you must do a little sonnet for us.
Yes, and a song and a dance to go with it. My name is Laura Johnson, 6228 Buck Run Circle. I'm here representing Southern Shakespeare Company as the executive director. Since returning to Tallahassee in 2014, Southern Shakespeare Company has made education both its mission and its focus, and creating a year-round education program which focuses on introducing students to the work of William Shakespeare in fun and exciting ways, as Randy spoke to, while also supporting the Florida standards. With the support of state grants, Southern Shakespeare Company has been able to provide this free to our Leon County School students with an anticipated reach of 5,000 students this year. While Southern Shakespeare was awarded grant funds for the 2019-20 year, as you know, the lack of state funds meant that the funds could not be granted to us, so we're without that $25,000 this year. I'm appealing to the district for your support and consideration for $25,000 for Southern Shakespeare Company to assist in this gap year to support our school-based programming in the upcoming school year. Southern Shakespeare has been bringing teachers workshops, classroom programs, touring productions, and Shakespeare Man and Sonnet Man to our Leon County schools. I could fill the room tonight with teachers and students who have benefited from these programs, but out of respect for your time, I know I've got some handouts that I'd like to give to you this evening, and present this brief presentation to you. Our teachers' workshops provide the tools that teachers need to introduce Shakespeare in a way that incorporates performance-based approaches, focusing on the language and the text, all the while creating an immersive classroom experience. Our classroom visits apply the experiential learning model, where if all the world's a stage, then let's get them up on their feet, speaking and performing Shakespeare as it was really intended. Shakespeare Man comes in period costume, as Randy was talking about. Sonnet Man comes in and really gets the kids up doing sonnets to hip-hop. He introduces his hip-hop and has the students write their own sonnets and perform rap for the sonnet contest that we have every year at the festival. Our touring productions bring the Leon County students to Goodwood Museum to experience A Town Divided. And if anybody hasn't heard of it, it's a story of Shakespeare, race, and our city, and using Romeo and Juliet as the framework to introduce racial divides in our own city. We know that the arts transport, it's often said that they're an essential part of what makes us human. And in providing these programs, Southern Shakespeare works to cultivate creative capacity, build communication skills and self-confidence, and establish a foundation of social mindedness for personal growth and social change. I thank you for your thoughtful consideration in providing Southern Shakespeare with $25,000 for this gap year and supporting our educational program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion. I think we've talked about, I mean, if the reach is 5,000 students and countless teachers in the area of literature where the Sunshine State standards are so incredibly important to our school grades, and there's such an emphasis of this program in our Title I schools where the need is so great, that seems like not a great deal of money relative to what we've just talked about with regard to our fund balance. I know we have many, many pressing needs, and I want to make this motion on the premise that our superintendent has done a stellar job of preserving and saving and redistributing funds that are critically needed in our schools. And I do this on top of the arts funding that you did because I think this speaks more to our language arts and our literature classes where sometimes it's really difficult. I won't elaborate for too long, but I could tell you a story about a huge success down in Miami-Dade where community college students who were single parents working full-time, trying to get their AA degree at night, and they were using the experiential service learning model and they couldn't understand why they had to read Othello. And the faculty member paired them up with a service learning experience in a domestic violence shelter where they were able to see the characters in real time and identify them and really make it relevant to their learning. That particular professor had an 85% re-enrollment rate in her English Part 2 the following semester. And so this experiential learning that the Shakespeare folks have been bringing to us at no charge, they're finding themselves in a gap year. And I think this year we can afford to help bridge that gap for the benefit of 5,000 students and faculty members. So I would like to make a motion that we add that to this budget.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. However, we do need to address millage before. Am I correct? No? Do you want, are you?
It would probably be better to go ahead and adopt this, and then we can amend it.
Okay.
So adopt the budget as it is, and then we'll amend it with this.
Don't want the motions on millage first?
We should do that first.
Yes. Okay, so can we?
Yeah, I'll temporarily postpone that.
To this? Okay. If we could proceed with number 3, and then we can insert that maybe into.
After it's all done, they can.
You guys are going to take.
Yeah, we can take
you
care
want
of
it
it.
after.
I mean, we'll hear the motion and we can.
Okay, so let's
put
move
it in
through
the budget. So the final budget, you'll see the 25,000.
Okay.
Okay. I move approval of the
end.
big budget, or do we have to?
No, we're going to start with
certain
number
language?
3.
Number 3.
I believe we have a, yeah.
Number 3. Are you there? I am.
You ready?
So we had the presentation, we had a public hearing, we're closing public hearing, and now I need to entertain a motion for the budget as presented. But along with that, I believe Mr. Wimberly said we're going to need to read page III again. I'm hearing maybe yes,
That
maybe no.
Yeah, page II is page 1, right?
Yeah, so we're going to start with a motion to adopt the resolution.
Yes,
That's
it starts
what we need
number
to start
3
almost.
in bold.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that the board adopt the resolution determining revenues and millage levied found on page III within this document. The following motions will need to be read separately into the minutes in their entirety.
Second. Do we need to keep going with that? There's
No.
A?
It's going to be that
One
one
at a time.
first.
Okay. All right. Moved by Bowen, second by Rasmussen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that the board adopt the tentative millage rates for the fiscal year July 1, 2018 to June 30th, 2019. A, for local required effort, 4.095 mills. B, for discretionary operating purposes, 0.748 mills. C, for capital outlay projects, 1.500 mills. Total proposed millage, 6.343 mills.
Second?
Moved by Bowen, second by Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
You're on a roll.
You're on a roll, Ms. Joy.
I move that the board adopt the tentative budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2018 to June 30th, 2019, as presented by the superintendent.
Second.
Moved by Bowen, second by Lewis Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move the board schedule the required public hearing to adopt the final millage rates and adopt the final budget for Tuesday, September 11th, 2018 at 6 p.m. to be held at the Aquilina C. Howell Center, 3955 West Pensacola Street, Tallahassee, Florida.
Second. Moved by Bowen, second by Rasmussen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bowen.
I move that the board authorize the superintendent to advise the property appraiser of the proposed tentative millage rates, including the required rollback rates, and the date, time, and place of the final budget hearing to be held on Tuesday, September 11th, 2018.
Second.
Moved by Bowen, second by Lewis Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Why stop
Oh, is
now?
there more?
Yeah.
Oh, E, Madam Chair, September 11th, 2018 is also the meeting to adopt the 2017-2018 annual financial report, approve transmittal of the program cost report, and approve the final budget amendments. Legal due date is September 11, 2018.
That's just an information.
That's
item.
just,
Okay.
Second.
Do we need a motion?
Don't need
Second? No, no motion.
No.
Okay.
That's just
Okay.
information.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bowen. Yes, Ms.
Madam
Rasmussen.
Chair, I would offer a motion to approve the amending of the budget to add the $25,000 for the Southern Shakespeare Festival and directing staff to add that to the budget before the next hearing.
Second. I believe Ms. was, all right, so discussion on that item?
Yeah, just a little bit. How I understand the importance of Shakespeare and the arts, and have led marches to the Capitol about that. Yes. So how will the Title I schools be involved in this, and how will all 5,000 students, or will that increase? I'm just trying to get a feel for
Can we
the
defer to
greatness
Ms.
of this.
Johnson to come up and talk about the
I think
schools?
it's a great idea. Just need a little more information, please.
I would say too, if we're
Y'all's
gonna have,
meeting.
if we're gonna have this discussion, I'd like to add, I think we all have some projects that,
Not
and
being
Southern
records of
Shakespeare,
Title I.
very important to our schools.
Not being
Arts are
records
very
of Title I.
important. I've long advocated for money for Turnabout, they go in our schools and counsel our children who are suicidal on drugs, and they haven't received any funding, I think, since before I got here. So I caution, I would caution that if we're gonna open this up, we might need to discuss all of the good things that we want to fund, and have that discussion openly. In fact, I've urged superintendent, and I think, what was the one at Griffin? There's a restorative justice program. There's so many great programs in Leon County. I've actually talked to superintendent a couple times about, if we're going to have an open call, a grant process, let's do it like at one time of the year, where we say everyone who wants funding for all, and they're all wonderful. If the tree grew in the backyard and we could fund everything we want, bring it on, let's do it. But without that formalized process, so we can say, well, I want, this program is wonderful, and this program is wonderful, and this program is wonderful. So it's fair to everyone, to all of the great projects that are out there. So that would just be my 2 cents. Yes.
Madam Chair, I don't disagree that there are many projects that we would like to fund. In this case, it's a bit of an extenuating circumstance in that they have been continually providing services to our schools, and suddenly the legislature was unable, or the state was unable to fund. So I'm asking for at least just a 1-year gap or bridge, and I've made the motion. We have a second. I would call the question.
Any further discussion?
There's no further discussion on a calling question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Bowen, are you a yes on that?
I am.
Okay. Passes unanimously
Yeah, it
then.
does.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I want to go back to the statements that you were making, and if this is the inappropriate time, I'm certain that Ms. McKinley Williams will let me know. I think there is some merit to the points that you were making, and as much as I have an interest as well, in perhaps bringing to this board and superintendent some pet projects, should not call them pet, but some projects that I'd like to see funded that could help schools as well. This is a wonderful thing, and I voted for it today. But one of them would have been the Restorative Justice Program, and I'd have some others to add to that. So at the appropriate time, since we're talking about budget, I'd like to know when we will get a chance to do that, or if we've missed that opportunity.
Apparently, you can take that at any time you want. So if you
Okay, that's fair. Thank you. We will come back then next board meeting with my listing.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
American, the budget can always be amended, right?
Yes, ma'am. That's why the next board meeting you could bring it and we could get it in.
I would just, can I
Yes,
pop in
ma'am.
here?
We're all, yes, everybody go for it. This is the only time we ever get together, so
I know we
let's
don't
do
get
it.
to talk. I voted for the proposal.
Yeah.
I hear everybody's point of view on this. I think we all think it's a good program, and I do like the idea of a grants program, so that we can have some sort of a, I'm on the board at COCA too. I think you are as well. And they, we have a process and we have a listing, and people have to state out what the benefit is. In the case of COCA, to the community. In this case, it would be to the students, and how many students they're going to affect and how much it's going to cost. And if we could we could probably borrow their proposal language and look at it. And then when we do have requests like this, we would have a process, an annual process, that people know when it is, and we know how much money we're going to allocate to it. I'm sort of following the COCA model here. And then it's competitive. And then a group of people makes recommendations, what's to be funded. And so moving forward, rather than each of us coming to the next few board members, I would appreciate us setting up a process for that.
And I'm sorry, related to that, Madam Chair, I believe at one point we did have a process such as this in place. Perhaps a staff person might research to see what was there, and we can use our own. And not that there's anything wrong with COCA, but
Just,
if it's there, I understand.
Yes, the idea of it.
The idea, okay, that we can have input.
And I think it needs to be done in plenty of time for the school year. Obviously, most of our projects revolve around the school year, so if it's presenting in the spring, we have a committee that, reviews it and then makes recommendations to the board for, whatever's approved. And is there a line item to be, for an allotment amount? Or do we know what they're applying for?
So so after I took office, I inherited a list of different organizations that were very worthy, doing great things for our kids, both during school and after school. I brought them all before you, one by one. Peace Jam, Sharing Tree, Elder Care, World Class Schools, and then you all made the determination as to whether or not this was something you wanted to continue to support or we felt like that, that no, we needed to use those dollars elsewhere. So I'm trying my best to not overspend, but I think there needs to be a process. Like elder care, I shifted elder care over to Jillian to take advantage of some of her little pots of gold. So I cut that $40,000 out of this, and now we're going to add back another 25, which is fine. But I think there needs to be a process. I don't know how this happened, or but I don't think that this is the way we ought to go about doing it. I think that we need to set X amount of money and then bring these groups in, as opposed to every 2 weeks having another group come before you and kind of putting you on the spot we need to do it immediately.
Totally.
Because I think we want to fund everything. I don't think there's a program in our school that isn't worthy. They wouldn't be there if they weren't worthy. But for every time we pull money out, remember we're taking it out of somewhere.
Fund balance. Right now.
Yep. So.
I don't have I don't disagree about the process. I think there are some programs that have better data and better results than others. And if we're going to have a process, then we probably ought to have a professional review of exactly what those things are. I also think that this is a unique and extenuating circumstance, and that's the only reason I wanted us to be on the record of getting we need a bridge year for them, and they either will have it fully vetted again, or they'll be successful in their endeavors to get their state funding restored.
Fine with that.
All right, that brings us to 3.02 Elder Care Services, Inc. Foster Grandparent Program, and I believe this is just an MOU. Yes, no dollar amount attached. I know that they brought the grandparents to us last year, and we all very much appreciated their involvement with our schools and our children. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, just really quick, you said no dollar amount attached. There actually is a dollar amount, so I wanted to clear that up.
There is a dollar amount, like the superintendent said, but that budget has been shifted to one in academic services. It remains $40,000 for the year for 40 foster grandparents to be placed within our Title I schools, pre-K to 5th grade. We're going to be training those per the superintendent through our mentor program. They will receive background checks and detailed mentor trainings before they're actually placed within our schools. But as far as the MOU is concerned, that's just a MOU for their records and for our continued partnership with Elder Care Services.
And the $40,000 was a plan for a budgeted amount previously. We were already aware of that.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I move 3.02.
Second. Moved by Lewis Butler, second by Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Any further business? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Ever since I moved here. I don't know if I should go into my background a little. Currently, I am the Chief Financial Officer for the Florida Department of Corrections. They're a $2.5 billion agency, the largest state agency from an FTE perspective, 25,000 employees. And before that, I was the Chief Financial Officer for the Department of Highway Safety Motor Vehicles. And prior to that, I was in the governor's office as a budget analyst, short stint at the Department of Education as a budget analyst. So again, I've kind of been through the state budget process from the agency perspective, but I'm really excited to come to the schools, to work with Leon County, to work with the great team that Merrill has here, especially with Naomi. I've heard wonderful things, so I'm excited to start. I don't know. I don't really have anything else.
Well,
to
we're very excited and you're starting as well. So, Kim will take over in October, I guess, October 22nd.
Right.
And we're very thankful to have someone with such wonderful experience that can, bring a new, fresh set of eyes. Not that Meryl's eyes are old, but in a new perspective to kind of look at things and how we've been doing things and advise, hey, have you ever thought of this? So we're excited. This is a win for us and our community. So thank you for joining our team.
No problem. Thanks.
And when's your starting day?
October 22nd.
October 22nd.
What was
When's
your last
when's
name,
your
Kim?
ending day?
Thanks.
What was your last name? I'm sorry.
Banks.
Mays?
Banks.
Banks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Don't you think our CFO should be a bank?
I will remember
And
that.
not the first time I've heard that.
The bank will be the bank.
Good.
Yep.
Everybody's going to